What's up, everybody? We back up in here, Hella Flagrant, the podcast. It's your main man, Hella Flagrant DM. I'm in here, I got my brother Sean B. Flagrant. It's been a minute. Shawnee B, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, I'm always good, man. Just checking out these NBA playoffs, conference finals going on right now. Four teams left. No LeBron, no KD, no Steph, but still some exciting basketball going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Some exciting basketball going on for sure. And like you said, no LeBron, no Steph, no KD. So obviously, the topic at hand of the teams that are left, who has the most pressure to win? You got Milwaukee, Atlanta, you got Phoenix and LA, Chris Paul, Paul George, Giannis, Trey Young. Who is the pressure on? Who you think has the most pressure to win right now?
Man, well, honestly, if I had to say, it would probably be Giannis. Obviously, I mean, look, Milwaukee Bucks have been first place for the last 2, 3, 4 years, maybe even. Um, at least in the East, I should say. But every single year they get exited, bounce right out the playoffs. Giannis is a two-time MVP back to back. Not this year, obviously. The MVP went to Nikola Jokic. But look, Giannis MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Everybody kind of put him as that next up. You know what I'm saying? In
Right.
terms of LeBron, KD, like once they kind of go out the game, they were looking at him and Luka to kind of fill the shoes as the next big, stars in the league. But every single year, like I said, Giannis has been getting bounced out the playoffs easily, easily. Miami Heat bounced him out the year that they went to
Yeah.
the finals last year in the bubble. Before that, the Toronto Raptors, Philadelphia obviously bounced him out. And it's really strictly because Giannis, look, he's not a great shooter. This NBA game is all about shooting right now. But the fact of the matter is they figured out a defense basically to set up to prevent him from doing what he does. And every single year he gets bounced out. So I think this year the pressure is definitely on him to win an NBA championship since those three are pretty much out of the picture.
Yeah, I can understand your argument for Giannis, but I'm going to say as a team, the Milwaukee Bucks may have the most pressure, but individual player wise, Chris Paul to me, I feel like has the most pressure to win, and I feel like that because Chris Paul has been close to sniffing an NBA championship far too many times to not get one in an opportunity where you don't have Steph, you don't have LeBron, you don't have a KD to go through. I think right now is the opportune time for Chris Paul to go ahead and try to get his championship. Um, I just don't feel like if he doesn't get it this year, he may not be back again ever to get one. So I feel like the pressure on Chris Paul has to be the strongest right now. Yeah, I understand your case for Giannis, and I can see a strong case for Giannis, but I think that case is more for the Milwaukee Bucks as an entire team. Individual player wise, I got to put it on Chris Paul. Chris Paul, this is your year. This is your opportunity. Everybody that has ever stopped you from getting a championship is out of the way. You need to take every opportunity that you can to make sure that your Phoenix Suns team understands the magnitude of this situation. And you need to be the leader in that team and keep those guys poised to get them over the hump of the Western Conference Finals and then ultimately to the finals and potentially win, 4 games and win the championship there. So again, I can see a case for Giannis. I'm gonna stick to my case for Chris Paul. I really think he really needs to go ahead and win this one this year if he's ever gonna have a chance to have a ring.
I can agree with that. And then speaking of the other two, too, I'll touch on Paul George. Obviously, Paul George in a situation. Look, he wasn't the leader of the team. Obviously, that was Kawhi. Kawhi continues to get hurt and stay hurt. But he is in LA. He is in that big market. LeBron is playing for the Lakers, the big boy in that city. This is their chance to take that step up and be known as one of the teams, that take over that city, I should say. Excuse me. Not really take over, but at least to show that they're not the little brother in the city of LA. Now,
Right.
Paul George has his own personal problems that comes along with it. We all know about the situation with Paul George, self-proclaimed, called himself Playoff P. Now, he hasn't lived up to that name up until I can say this playoff series. I think he has played pretty well for the most part. But look, if you go back, further back in
Pretty
his career,
well. No,
he
no.
look, he had a great game the other day. I'm gonna say
The
this.
other day.
The
Okay.
other day he had
It's
41. I'll
one
give him credit
game.
for that. I get that. In Indiana, when he played there, he was his own man. He was supposed to be the best player. He battled LeBron with the Heat. Everybody gave him this, or put him up on this pedestal. Boom. Then he decided, I don't want to play for Indiana. Trade me. Forced his way out. Went to go play with Russ. Took a backseat to Russ. But every time in the playoffs, it was him who was getting blamed. Why? Because he completely gave up in those games. I'm going to be honest with you. I had a problem with that because it was pathetic, especially that game against Utah when he had, I think, 5 points maybe, and that was like the closeout game 7. Didn't help Russ at all. Russ had like 43 points in that game. He had 5 or 8 or whatever it was. But the fact of the matter is, if you're the second best scorer on that team, you need more than that. The year after that, with the whole Dame shot and the whole wave goodbye, that was on Paul George. Yeah. And then in the bubble last year, he completely melted down against the Mavs. But remember, before that, he was talking a whole bunch of, whatever to Dame about, you're getting bounced out of players and Dame time and all this. Well, he got bounced right out the next round because he was hitting the side of the backboard and all that, So, look, Paul George has his own set of pressure that he has to deal with and try to get over it.
I'm going to say this, though. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think the pressure for Paul George is still there, but I think it's starting to wind down only because I think people are seeing that he may not even be capable of what they're trying to hold him to. So while, Paul George does have a ton of pressure, the playoff P name, the demand for being traded, now you're in LA, you know what I mean? You portray yourself as this great basketball guy, but at the end of the day, I don't think you're capable of doing the thing. So I'm starting to think that maybe the pressure on Paul George may be easing off just a tad. It's still there. It's still heavy. Yes, I feel like he needs to come out and play. Yes, I feel like he needs to lead his team to win games if he wants to consider himself any sort of superstar worth, what are you making, $30-something million a year? I don't know.
It's ridiculous. 30-something, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He's getting paid handsomely.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I don't think he can, honestly.
Yeah, we might be at that point. He's trying his best. The Clippers, I'll get up to Ty Lue though, because Ty Lue has that team firing all cylinders. He has the whole playoffs even without Kawhi. But speaking of the other team, let's go to Atlanta. You're in Atlanta. How is this Trae Young situation working out? Because they came out of pretty much nowhere.
Yeah, okay, so I don't want to discredit the Atlanta Hawks in the work that they've put in the games that they've won. But the East has been a tad soft this season. Let's be honest, the East has been soft since LeBron left, for real. And so I think a lot of these teams that were in the playoffs, some of them were new, some of them had new players playing together, and none of them had really gelled. And I think Atlanta was able to take advantage of that. The biggest advantage was they have a guy named Trae Young. And throughout this season, Trae Young is known to put up 30-plus, 40-plus games, which is awesome when he's going. However, in Game 3, Trae Young tweaked his ankle and will not be playing in Game 4. And how that looks down the rest of the series for the Atlanta Hawks, now the pressure is on you as a team to show that you can win games without Trae Young, because you put so much pressure on him throughout the season and every single game to score points and be that leader. The pressure is on you now as a team to make sure that you can win games. Yeah, there's pressure on Trae Young if he's 100% healthy, because he is the scorer for that team. And so if the Atlanta Hawks have any chance of winning games, it is on Trae Young's shoulders. However, with Trae Young potentially being hurt, the pressure now has switched to the Atlanta Hawks as a team. What are you guys going to do to show that you can at least win games? Because if you guys don't win another game with Trae Young out, that's going to look bad.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Do you think there's any pressure with Trae Young just because of the situation with him and Luka being drafted and then traded at draft day for each other? Now, I know obviously Luka's not in the playoffs right now, but for everything that that I've seen in the NBA. Right now, Luka is that next dude. He's pretty much LeBron, the European version of LeBron. Do you think Atlanta fans? Now, I know Trae Young fits Atlanta. Trae Young fits what Atlanta wants to do. But do you think there's any pressure on him or I guess in his mind
Yeah, because
about
I'm gonna look
like
at it.
that.
I'm gonna look at it kind of like uh, Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons situation, right? Like
Right.
I feel like Donovan Mitchell is holding a grudge, you know what I'm saying, and tries to show that on the court every chance he gets about the whole Rookie of the Year situation. You know what I mean? And I think maybe Trae Young and Luka, there is some battle there too. And I think also too, you factor into the fact Trae Young was an All-Star snub in a city that hosted the All-Star game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously there is a chip on his shoulder. Obviously he's playing with the chip and coming at this thing full force where it seems like it's Trae versus the league. And the more he does that, the pressure's going to mount on him to go ahead and back that up. And so yeah, I think there is pressure. I think he's building up the pressure for himself by the way he carries himself. But you got to be careful with that as an organization. Again, when you rely on one guy so much and that guy goes down, you still got to win basketball games. And so, I think the amount of pressure that's on Trae Young, we can argue, and this is a topic that we're about to bring up. Is it too much? Yes or no? Or on some of these guys, is it too much? Yes or no? That's a topic to be argued. But yes, there is definitely pressure on Trae Young.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I do think that he might have the least, but I do think there is pressure. And I mean, rightfully so, there's pressure on all these guys. Right now, like we talked about a little bit earlier, I mean, LeBron, KD, Steph, these were the big boys in this situation. I mean, you could look at it as maybe an example like um, Apple and, like Microsoft or whatever, Android phones, Apple products, they're kind of holding it down pretty much for the cell phone. Now, if anybody else wanted to jump in, LG, whatever, wanted to kind of move in there and take over, well, boom. Let's say Apple and Android all of a sudden didn't do numbers that year, or pretty much weren't able to do anything because something happened in their company. LG now has to step in and show, boom, I'm going to be the next. I'm the next person. Look at my phone. My phone has this, is that. You don't need to go to Apple. You don't need to go to Android phones. We have it all right here. I think
Right.
that's kind of the same pressure right now in between with the situation right now. You have Giannis. You have, well, not really much like Paul George, but you have Giannis. You have Devin Booker and Chris Paul in that situation with Phoenix because you already know. I talk on this show all the time about how bad Phoenix was. I hated Phoenix, but Phoenix turned their season around. I mean, they turned their team around. They got Chris Paul in the offseason. Devin Booker, they helped him, showed him the right way to win. DeAndre Ayton is playing completely better. They got Cam Jordan and Mikal Bridges to help out. Jay Crowder to help out to bring toughness to that team. They figured out how to win with Monty Williams, and now they changed their whole situation around. So now this is their time to pretty much show, like, boom, we're the next ones. Giannis,
So
the Bucks, we're the next ones. Trae Young,
so the question is the pressure too much though? Is the pressure fair? Is it you know insurmountable? Can they get over this? These teams, these players, is it too much? Is it too much pressure?
well, me personally, I'm going to say this. In terms of the media, fans, everything, I think it is in some ways. And I'm going to give you my example why. Everybody here, everybody listening to the show right now has had a job or has a job at some point. Okay. They probably had to work with people, they work by themselves. Now, you have deadlines to get things done. If you do your part, let's say you're in a group and you do your part and you overachieve and do everything you possibly can, and let's say your deadline is met, but it's not good enough. And the situation where maybe you don't get an account or something doesn't close, you don't have to then turn on your phone and see, oh, you're not good enough. You might have done your best and did everything correctly, and then now you have everybody in the world sitting there saying that wasn't good enough. That didn't look good. That didn't do this. That didn't do that. You're not a good enough player. You're not, that talented of a person to even be doing stuff like that. The reason why I'm saying that is like, okay, Giannis' situation. Giannis career-wise right now in the playoffs, and this is over 57 games, and it's 57-game playoffs. It's averaging 25 points, 11 rebounds, and I think 5 assists. Career playoffs. Now, I know they haven't gotten to the hump, but that's not all his fault. That's also coaching. That's also the players that he's with, Chris Middleton, now Drew Holiday, everybody that he's played with. That's not just his fault. But yet, still, if you turn on social media, turn on the TV, it's Giannis. Giannis can't do this. Giannis can't do that. Giannis can't do this. Giannis can't do that. I know that the defense has built up a wall to prevent him from doing things. But that doesn't mean that the coach is not then responsible to put him in a situation to now help them win games to get around that wall. Just like I said in the job, if you have something that's your asset, you need to figure out how to use that asset, whether it's, it can work for this or work for that. If this is what you need to use, if this is what your moneymaker is, you need to figure out how to use that in a correct way, not just, whatever. You need to figure out how to do that. But my point is, for him and all these other players, they have pressure because now if they don't perform the way that we like it, they're getting scrutinized by every single person. They have to hear the noise from every single person with every single thing. And it also affects their money in terms of, if we don't feel that way, then people will talk and people will say things, and then maybe the organization might, feel that way in terms of, whatever. Like maybe they're not getting it done. But my point is, I think it's unfair that a lot of players, they do put up numbers and they do try different things, but yet and still we sit there and we will ride them like they're not doing their best, or they're not giving it their all, or they're not doing everything possible when it's clearly they are. Because go ahead.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, right? But I'm gonna tell you that I don't think the pressure is too much, and let me tell you why. The National Basketball Association is this ridiculously huge conglomerate, media, marketing, sales, all these things, right? It takes a lot to make this machine work. And in a situation like this season where you don't have, like we talked about at the top of the show, LeBron, Steph, KD, Harden, Kyrie, a number of your big superstars, it does fall on the backs of those superstars that are in here now to go ahead and carry out whatever the league needs, which is in this term, they need tickets sold and they need people to watch games. And if that requires them to have to put out clickbait, if that requires them to have to put out, whatever kind of media it is for people to want to come watch and make it more interesting, because you got to, let's be honest here. We have Phoenix versus the Clippers, not the good LA team that we know and love. Right. We have Phoenix versus the Clippers. We got Milwaukee versus Atlanta. 4 teams that haven't sniffed a conference finals in 20 plus years, or some of them never have even been. We got to make this thing interesting. We have to. And so as media, and we're included as media, right, we have to do the things that we need to do to make this thing more interesting so that people want to watch and people want to see this thing. And you have to understand that as a basketball player, you signed up for the scrutiny and you signed up to have people say things about you. And Giannis, I'm sorry that I'm not sorry that if you can't make free throws in the conference finals, when, like you said, you've been in the playoffs multiple years, bounced out, you probably should have been working on free throws in your offseason. So, yes, the pressure is fair because you should know better. You should be here and you should understand how to be in this moment. So I'm not going to give you a pass. I'm not going to just say, yeah, there are some problems with the rest of your team. However, you, sir, as a superstar, you got the Greek Freak shoe out. If you got a signature shoe, I'm sorry, you should make free throws. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's just it. Shaq's shoe was ugly, so don't throw Shaq in the mix because nobody bought the Shaq sneakers. So we're not even gonna put that in there. But I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna lead the league, if you're gonna be, for now, at least for these 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever, the face of the league and the thing that people have to see, yeah, you got to play, you got to perform. You can't fall back, you can't hide, because it's detrimental to you and your status as a superstar moving forward, but it's also detrimental to your team. Nobody's going to want to watch your games next season if they watched you again fade away in the playoffs. Paul George, if Kawhi doesn't happen to, I don't know, play in LA for some reason next year, it's a topic we tossed around. But if you're the guy that's supposed to lead this team next year, I'm not watching the Clippers game at all next year based on what I'm seeing right now. So yeah, I feel like the pressure is fair because it's on you now to decide if you're going to man up and take this banner and run with it and really be the face of the league for this time and really transition because LeBron's not going to be here for very long. Steph's got a few more quality seasons in him. KD, a few more quality seasons in him. You guys are going to have to lead the league. So, yeah, the pressure's on you because they had it on them at one point.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like we put these expectations on them to put them up there. Giannis didn't ask to be, this next level superstar. Now, look, I understand it comes with the territory. The man was a 15th pick in the NBA draft. Wasn't very good. All of a sudden, he became very good because there's not that much in Milwaukee. Let's be honest. Nobody really watched the Milwaukee Bucks until Giannis became good, or he started becoming good. Then he became good. Then all of a sudden, we anointed him as the next guy. That he didn't say that he was the next guy. He didn't do anything. And I understand. Look, he doesn't make free throw. He doesn't do certain things. But if you go buy a car, and let's say you buy a Mercedes, and then all of a sudden you see this Bentley that comes up, and this Bentley is all tricked out and everything like that. This Mercedes is still good, but now you are focused on the Bentley because the Bentley has more things. You can't then just start yelling at the Bentley and saying this is a stupid car. It ain't the Bentley's fault. You the one that bought it.
You gotta drive that Mercedes. You gotta drive the Mercedes like it's a Bentley now, though. You can't just as the Mercedes just decide that, man, I'm gonna just ride in the slow lane. No, you got 150 miles on your dash too. So you gotta ride that Mercedes like it's the Bentley. Like, come on, like you know what I'm saying? And I hear you.
But if it doesn't do what you thought it was gonna do or what that Bentley does, that ain't the Mercedes fault. Because it wasn't built for that. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't built for that.
Yeah.
We put all this pressure on these guys. Some of them ain't built for that.
Okay, then if you're gonna take that side of the argument, then when the other side happens, then there can't be much sympathy either. When his star starts to fade, or the Paul Georges of the world, their stars start to fade, then it just, hey, it is what it is. I wasn't built for this anyway. You wasn't supposed to be here, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't, oh man, he had it rough and all. Nah, you wasn't built for this, Kwame Brown. You know what I'm saying?
True. The problem that's actually the problem. The problem is we too used to watching Aston Martin's with LeBron, KD, and Steph for so many years that we expect everybody to ride like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but not everybody can be in this race. You feel me? Like that's not gonna work. Like, we have to start enjoying the cars that we got right now because right now we don't have those 3 Aston Martins in this playoffs. So now we running with Mercedes.
Mario Kart.
It's Mario exactly. Kart exactly. Luigi might be driving this thing. Toad. Exactly. But we're gonna get there either way. Either way, it's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how it plays out. I mean, obviously, right here on the Flagrant Foul, we'll always keep you updated on what's going on. As the conference finals wrap up, and then obviously as we get to the NBA finals and see who's there. I know Sean B is so excited about Phoenix being there. We know how much we love Phoenix on this show. So
Phoenix Suns all the way.
We get to see what that looks like, hopefully. And so we'll see. You know what I mean? But keep it locked. Flagrant Foul, Hella Flagrant the podcast. Follow us at the Flagrant Foul, at Hella Flagrant. Theflagrantfoul.com, HellaFlagrantShop.com. New merch coming on the way real soon. So make sure you stay tuned in, stay locked with us. We definitely here to rock with y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for everything. Obviously, man, just enjoy the videos. More entertaining footage coming soon, obviously. And just like D said, man, we got merch coming out and better videos, just for y'all. So keep it locked in.
So on that note, we're going to check y'all in a couple, see what happens. Holla at y'all.